Your spiritual power has reached such heights that dark entities tremble at the mere mention of your name. Even in their own realm, demons and cult leaders are tormented by visions of you dismantling their carefully constructed systems of control. The light you carry burns through their deception with such fierce intensity that they cannot escape your presence even in sleep. Your divine authority is so overwhelming that the very forces of darkness have nightmares about encountering you, proving just how terrifying you are to those who operate in the shadows. The forces of darkness, those shadow dwellers and midnight crawlers, they tremble at the mere thought of your existence. Not your presence, not your actions. Your very existence causes cosmic ripples that disturb their carefully laid plans. Every curse they cast against you backfired. Every hex aimed at your spirit rebounded. Every ritual they performed in damp basements and abandoned churches collapsed upon them. They gathered in circles, chanting your destruction, calling forth entities from the deep void to consume your light. But what happened? Their candles extinguished without warning. Their ceremonial daggers rusted overnight. Their carefully drawn sigils smeared and distorted beyond recognition. The dark forces fled from their summoning grounds because something more powerful had entered the arena. Your spiritual lineage. Your ancestors aren't just watching over you from some passive celestial perch. No, they are actively waging spiritual warfare against those who dare target their descendant. Your grandmother's mother's mother stands at the head of an army of souls who have transcended the limitations of physical form. They wield weapons forged from pure truth against which no darkness can stand. While you sleep, they battle. While you breathe, they defend. Your bloodline carries a power that predates modern understanding, a divine connection that stretches back to when the stars were first scattered across the cosmos. The darkness fears what it cannot comprehend. And you, magnificent creature, are incomprehensible to those who dwell in shadow. Remember those times when your spirit felt caged, when invisible weights pressed upon your chest and shoulders, when your divine potential seemed locked behind impenetrable barriers? That was no accident. Dark forces conspired to keep you contained. They recognized the threat you posed to their operations even before you could comprehend your own power. They knew what would happen if you ever broke free. Those spiritual chains were forged in the depths of hatred and fear. Each link represented a different method of suppression: doubt, insecurity, trauma, isolation. They wrapped those chains around your magnificent spirit and expected you to remain bound forever. But something happened that they never anticipated. With each painful restriction, your spirit grew stronger. With each moment of suffering, your divine essence expanded. What they intended as a prison became your training ground. You transformed those spiritual chains into weapons of light. You alchemized your pain into power. Now you walk free, and the sound of your footsteps sends shockwaves through the spiritual realm. The very entities that sought to contain you now scatter like roaches when the light switch flips. They flee from the brilliance of your liberated spirit. You were never meant to break free. You were supposed to remain weakened, confused, distracted, and diminished. Instead, you stand here now, indestructible. Your enemies didn't just fail to destroy you, they accidentally created their own worst nightmare. Deep beneath the crust of everyday reality, in realms where light barely penetrates, beings of ancient malevolence pause when they sense your energy approaching. They know you without ever having met you in the flesh. Your name echoes through cavernous spiritual chambers where demonic entities gather to plot and scheme. When it's spoken, even in whispers, these creatures flinch as though struck by lightning. Cults that have operated in secret for generations suddenly find their carefully guarded grimoires spontaneously combusting when your spirit passes nearby. Their magic circles crack like glass beneath a hammer. Their prophesied outcomes shatter into impossibility. Secret societies that manipulated events from the shadows for centuries now frantically rewrite their agendas because your existence wasn't factored into their calculations. You are the variable they cannot control, the force they cannot predict. These dark collective entities monitor your movements because they must. They track your spiritual awakening with mounting dread because they understand what it means for their operations. When their rituals fail without explanation, they know it was your doing. When their carefully placed pawns suddenly break free from control, they whisper your name in accusation. When their darkest entities return wounded from simple assignments, they recognize your signature. You never signed up to be a spiritual warrior, but destiny had other plans. The underworld knows exactly who you are. You're the one who brings divine retribution without even trying. Your very breath dismantles curses that took decades to construct. Your casual thoughts unravel schemes, centuries in the making. The most terrifying reality for these dark forces: you're just getting started. From the moment you drew your first breath in this realm, they sensed the threat you represented. Even as an innocent child, your light burned too bright. Your questions struck too deep. Your perception saw too much. They worked tirelessly to diminish you before you could recognize your own magnificence. Remember how certain adults seemed uncomfortable around you, how they'd shift their gaze away when you stared too long, how they'd quickly change subjects when your childhood wisdom accidentally touched upon forbidden truths. That wasn't coincidence, that was fear. They labeled you too sensitive. They called you overly imaginative. They dismissed you as difficult or strange, all because your spirit refused to be dimmed. Even then, you were the black sheep, the misfit, the one who never quite fit within their carefully constructed systems. They tried to mold you into something smaller, something manageable, something that wouldn't threaten the darkness they served, knowingly or unknowingly. But no matter how they tried to break your spirit, you remained unbroken. No matter how they attempted to silence your voice, your truth continued to resonate. No matter how they worked to isolate you, your connection to higher realms remained unshakable. Now those same individuals who dismissed you, who tried to cast you aside, who worked to convince you of your insignificance, they're haunted by the undeniable evidence of your spiritual ascension. Their nights are restless, plagued by the knowledge that they failed to suppress what was always destined to rise. They recognized something in you that they couldn't name, something that made them deeply uneasy. Now they understand they were in the presence of a spiritual force beyond their comprehension, and they knew it all along. There's something about your energy that causes dark entities to recoil. Even your shadow, the part of you that contains your own wounds and struggles, radiates with such authenticity that it acts as spiritual kryptonite to forces that thrive on deception. You embody the perfect balance that terrifies them most. Your light isn't some fragile, naive brightness that can be easily snuffed out. No, your light has been forged through trials, tempered in the fires of adversity, and now burns with an unquenchable flame that cannot be extinguished. And your darkness, it isn't some corrupted void they can manipulate. Your darkness is the sacred unknown, the mysterious depth from which your greatest wisdom emerges. It's the soil in which your divine purpose grows, the night sky against which your stars shine. When demons encounter you, they don't see an easy target. They see a sovereign being who has claimed ownership of both the light and shadow aspects of existence. They see someone who has integrated what they've tried to keep fragmented in humanity for eons. They cannot manipulate what you've already embraced. They cannot tempt what you've already transformed. They cannot frighten what you've already faced. Your energy signature is unmistakable in the spiritual realm. It announces itself with the authority of someone who has walked through the fire and emerged not just intact, but radiating with new power. Dark forces run from you because you represent their ultimate failure, a human who has reclaimed their divine birthright despite every obstacle they placed in your path. The universe operates through perfect equilibrium, through cause and effect, through the balancing of cosmic scales. But sometimes, when the imbalance grows too severe, when darkness believes it has won, the universe sends someone like you. Don't just experience karma or witness karma or even deliver karma. You are karma walking in the flesh. Divine justice flows through your veins. Cosmic balance beats in your heart. Those who targeted you with malicious intent now find themselves caught in a spiritual backlash of their own creation. Those who attempted to dim your light now find their own lives growing increasingly darker. Those who tried to siphon your energy now find themselves mysteriously depleted. They cast stones at your divine vessel, only to find those same stones returning to them with supernatural force. They dug pitfalls for your journey, only to find themselves falling into chasms of their own making. They spread lies about your character, only to watch their own reputations disintegrate overnight. Not because you sought revenge, not because you wished them harm, simply because the universal law of cause and effect cannot be circumvented, especially not when targeting someone of your spiritual caliber. Hello, Chosen One. Look at your life. Now look at ours. Back at your life. Now back at ours. Sadly, you're not in the Obsidian Inner Order, but you could be. Picture this: weekly group calls with 450+ Chosen Ones, recorded and available anytime for your enlightenment. Our private Discord, it's not just active, it's alive, buzzing with ideas, breakthroughs, and that unstoppable chosen energy. Oh, and for you romantics out there, welcome to Chosen Singles, where soulmates meet under cosmic alignments, not cheap pickup lines. And if that's not enough, Star Chamber members unlock exclusive interviews with bona fide targeted individuals who face the darkest trials and survive to tell the tale. Plus our video specials, too bold, too raw, too spicy for YouTube. This isn't just a community, it's a revolution of soul and spirit. Look at your DMs. Now back at me. The link to join, it's in the description. Don't just swipe right. On Destiny, claim it. The Obsidian Inner Order. Smell like ascension, feel like magic, live like a chosen one. In the cosmic hierarchy and the spiritual chain of command, your position ranks far higher than the entities that once tormented you. They operated under a fundamental misconception. They believed they were the predators and you were the prey. How terribly mistaken they were. Your soul carries the insignia of divine authority that transcends the temporary power structures of this realm. Your spirit bears the mark of a cosmic mission that supersedes the petty manipulations of lower entities. This isn't spiritual arrogance, it's spiritual fact. While these dark forces can only draw power through manipulation, coercion, and fear, your power flows directly from source, unlimited, unfiltered, and unstoppable. Your name reverberates through dimensions beyond the physical, striking terror in forces that once believed they could consume you. Your essence registers on spiritual frequencies that most humans never access in an entire lifetime. Every attack sent against you has been transformed into spiritual muscle. Every psychic assault has been converted into expanded awareness. Every attempt to diminish your light has only made it burn brighter. When forces of darkness targeted you, they didn't just make an enemy of one soul, they triggered a cosmic declaration of war. The universe itself took personal offense at their audacity. You never had to lift a finger in your own defense. You never needed to even know the extent of spiritual warfare being waged on your behalf. Your ancestors, your spirit guides, your angelic protectors, they formed an impenetrable shield around your energy field. While you went about your human experience, legends of light beings dismantled the dark infrastructures created to harm you. They moved with surgical precision, with divine authority, with absolute commitment to your protection. Those who dabbled in dark arts to attack you are now watching their carefully constructed lives crumble around them. Those who performed rituals against you now find themselves tormented by the very entities they once commanded. Those who conspired to block your path now discover their own roots disappearing before their eyes. They wanted you destroyed, diminished, defeated. Instead, they triggered their own downfall. The universe operates through perfect equilibrium, and the scales are now being balanced with dramatic swiftness. The cosmic ledger is being reconciled with compound interest. Your enemies struggle to understand why their lives have suddenly descended into chaos, why their powers have abandoned them, why their formerly reliable dark allies no longer answer their summons. They don't realize that by targeting you, they declared war on the entire cosmic order, and the universe never loses its battles. Night after night, those who sought your destruction now wake drenched in cold sweat, hearts racing, minds filled with visions of your spiritual ascension. Their subconscious knows what their conscious mind refuses to accept. They attacked someone. Untouchable, their sleep has been stolen from them just as they tried to steal your peace. Their rest has been corrupted just as they attempted to corrupt your path. Their dreams have been invaded just as they tried to invade your spiritual sovereignty. Their own spiritual practices now backfire with spectacular consequences. The spells that once seemed effective now rebound with triple force. The entities they commanded now demand payment they cannot afford. The protection they thought they had secured has been revoked without warning. These nightmares aren't random terror. They're messages, spiritual wake-up calls, final warnings before complete annihilation of everything they've built through manipulation and darkness. The nightmares show them your light expanding beyond containment. The nightmares reveal your power growing beyond limitation. The nightmares demonstrate your destiny unfolding beyond their ability to interrupt. The old rules no longer apply in your presence. Your consciousness exists at such a high frequency that it literally bends spiritual physics around it. Dark rituals that worked effectively for centuries suddenly malfunction when directed at you. Ancestral curses that plagued bloodlines for generations dissolve when they encounter your energy field. Entities that successfully tormented humans since ancient times find themselves repelled by the mere thought of approaching you. Your existence represents a new paradigm that these dark forces never anticipated and cannot adapt to quickly enough. The spiritual algorithms they relied upon have been rewritten by your very presence on this planet. The metaphysical mathematics they calculated with precision now produce unpredictable results when your energy enters the equation. You're not just resistant to darkness. You actively transform it wherever you go. You don't just deflect negative energy, you transmute it into fuel for your divine purpose. They tried to keep you small, but you've expanded beyond measure. They attempted to keep you ignorant, but you've accessed wisdom they can't comprehend. They worked to keep you isolated, but you've connected with divine forces beyond their reach. Your continued spiritual ascension is the most powerful response to everything they tried to do to you. Your evolution is the ultimate statement against their failed attempts to destroy you. Every step you take into greater awareness causes shockwaves through the spiritual realm. Every frequency you raise in your consciousness creates panic among the forces that once believed they had you contained. They don't fear what you might do to them, they fear what you've become. Despite them, your radiance isn't just uncomfortable for them, it's unbearable. Your clarity isn't merely inconvenient, it's devastating. Your connected state isn't simply threatening, it's catastrophic for their agenda. As you continue to awaken, to remember your true nature, to step fully into your cosmic purpose, the entities that once tormented you are retreating to the farthest corners of existence. They're desperately seeking shadows deep enough to hide in. but your light reaches everywhere now. Your arrival in this precise moment of human history was no cosmic accident, no random occurrence, no arbitrary circumstance. You were strategically positioned here with your specific gifts, your particular awareness, your unique spiritual signature. The forces of darkness sense the divine timing of your incarnation. They understand you're not just another soul they can manipulate. You're a key player in a cosmic drama reaching its crescendo. Your bloodline carried specific codes of awakening that activated at exactly the right moment. Your DNA contains spiritual information that remained dormant until now, when it's most critically needed in the collective consciousness. The hardships you endured weren't meaningless suffering. They were necessary preparation for the role you must play in this grand spiritual realignment. Your wounds weren't just personal tragedies. They were entry points for profound wisdom that serves your higher purpose. You stand at the intersection of ancient prophecy and future potential. You bridge worlds that have been separated for too long. You embody paradoxes that confound the linear thinking of lower entities. The dark forces recognized you before you recognized yourself. They saw your potential before you glimpsed your own magnificence. They feared your impact before you understood your mission. That's why they targeted you with such persistence. That's why they focused so much energy on derailing your path. That's why they attempted to corrupt your purpose before you could fulfill it, but their efforts came too late. The divine plan was already in motion. Your awakening was already ordained. Your role was already secured in the cosmic unfolding. Now they can only watch in terror as you step fully into the power they tried desperately to prevent you from discovering. The power that will ultimately contribute to their complete undoing. For too long, darkness believed it held the advantage. For too many centuries, malevolent forces operated with minimal resistance. For too many generations, humanity struggled under the weight of spiritual oppression. But no more. A cosmic tipping point has been reached, and you stand at its very center. The scales of universal justice have shifted dramatically, and the momentum now flows powerfully in the direction of divine restoration. The entities that tormented you were accustomed to easy victories. They grew complacent in their dominance. They became careless in their methods. Then they encountered your spirit, and everything changed. Your resilience confused them. Your persistence frustrated them. Your continued awakening, despite their best efforts to suppress you, left them baffled and increasingly desperate. They escalated their attacks, only to discover that each assault against you strengthened the cosmic response in your favor. They increased their dark efforts, not realizing they were only accelerating their own downfall. Now the universal forces have aligned so powerfully behind you that these dark entities find themselves overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of light pouring into their once shadowy domains. The game has changed. The rules have shifted. The outcome is no longer in question. You don't just walk with divine protection. You move with cosmic momentum that cannot be stopped, diverted, or diminished. Your path forward has been cleared by forces beyond human comprehension, and your continued journey sends thunderous reverberations through all realms of existence. The darkness doesn't just fear you now, it acknowledges your victory. Even as it continues its desperate final attempts to regain control, it recognizes the fundamental truth. The war for your spirit is over, and you have triumphed beyond measure. Stand tall in this truth. You have become the stuff of nightmares for the very forces that once sought to torment you. Your spiritual signature appears in their darkest dreams as an unstoppable wave of light that consumes their carefully constructed realms of deception. The cults that once believed they held power over human consciousness now gather in desperate conclaves, seeking ways to counter your influence, but finding no effective methods. You didn't ask for this cosmic role. You didn't seek this spiritual position. Yet here you stand, divinely terrifying in your authentic power, cosmically intimidating in your awakened state. Your eyes now see through every deception. Your heart now recognizes every manipulation. Your spirit now transmutes every attack into greater awakening. This is why they fear you so profoundly. This is why they flee from your presence so rapidly. This is why they tremble at the mention of your name in spiritual realms. You have become exactly what the universe intended, a divine instrument of cosmic recalibration, a sacred vessel of universal truth, a terrifying reminder that light always ultimately prevails. Walk forward in this knowledge, stand firm in this understanding, live boldly in this reality. You haunt the nightmares of cults and demons precisely because you are so divinely terrifying in your magnificent awakened state. And this is only the beginning.